The James Show Podcast.
Sorry if I sound a little under the weather today. I was just taking a bunch of handfuls of Tylenol in the hallway before the show. What could possibly go wrong? I know. Now, we're talking about the dangerous intersection between politics and medicine. You know, medicine is such an important industry. It's literally life or death. And that's not like a pun or a dad joke. I mean, it literally is life or death. And so if you've noticed that the government tends to just turn everything they touch into a dumpster fire, wouldn't you want to keep them away from the medical industry as much as possible? But that's not what we've done for our entire lives. It's just gotten more and more and more. We did Medicare and Medicaid and the CHIP, Child Health Insurance Program, and we have so much of the medical industry that goes through government. It's now more than 50% of the dollars spent on healthcare are spent through government. And the more socialized medicine gets, the worse the outcomes and the price. My next guest is going to break this down a little bit for me. Kyle Moran with Young Voices. Welcome to the James Show here. And, you know, the Tylenol is just the latest in the controversial topics that shouldn't be political, but somehow are. We've had the long-going debate about vaccines and the vaccine schedule. We're just coming out of all the weird medical stuff that happened with COVID. So, Kyle, I think this Tylenol situation fits right into context with the larger debate we've been having for years.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. And I have to admit, I did not see this one coming in terms of Tylenol, but it is definitely amusing seeing all these people. There are genuinely people out there now who are just taking Tylenol as a way of spiting the president, which is certainly a unique approach to this. But in all seriousness, RFK, HHS Secretary, and President Trump are at least trying to get to the bottom of what's been going on with this huge spike in autism diagnoses. I mean, the amount of diagnoses that we're having in this country is just astronomical. It's 1 in every 31 children now under the age of 8 is diagnosed with autism. So, I mean, something has clearly gone very wrong. My concern is that they are getting way too out in front of themselves before the evidence is really clear in terms of whether Tylenol really does cause this or not. And without saying that it doesn't, I don't think that's very wise to double down on some of what we're seeing from one side of the aisle. I also don't think it's very fact-based yet to suggest definitively that pregnant women should not take it either.
Right. So we're in this weird gray area, which I think we would be more comfortable if it wasn't political. If you had some doctors who were saying Tylenol is dangerous and some other doctors who were saying, no, as long as you don't go overboard, it's fine. You know, people wouldn't feel as emotional about this topic. We wouldn't have people taking pregnant ladies taking handfuls of it and just bombing it on TikTok, if not to spite their political opponents. And that's one of the things that's so dangerous about intersecting the two is this other pre-existing emotional baggage that you bring into the argument really skews people's interpretation.
Oh, absolutely. And it gets to the heart of what you were talking about, the politicization of public health. A few decades ago, this was not a right-left issue. And for a brief period of time, it was more of a left-wing issue. RFK was considered pretty far left for a lot of standards.
He's Obama a Kennedy.
Yeah. Obama had even thought about bringing him in, but he was too controversial for the Obama administration. So there has been politicalization of this for quite some time. The RFK, his legacy on this has been very, very controversial, though, because he has for decades attempted to point out causal links between various different types of things with autism as well as all sorts of other diseases. Now, this comes at a moment in American politics where public health has, to your point, become more politicized. So people do not trust what officials are saying nearly as much. And we have seen these huge upticks in autism rates as well as other types of mental diseases. So it's really a crucial aspect that we have to get right. And so that's why I'm concerned that by making this proclamation that pregnant women just should not take Tylenol because it causes autism, this has only made it worse. I don't see how this is really going to help too much of anything. and it's unfortunate because I think that Trump is the first president in a long time to really want to get to the bottom of what's going on here.
Well, I think politics is just going to ruin any chance that we had at an honest debate on this, because some people are just so calcified, and some people think they're fighting literally Hitler. So, I mean, if you think the guy's Hitler, would you take his advice on Tylenol? I don't think so, Kyle.
That's a fair point. The thing is with Kennedy, I mean, he had made, obviously his background on this was the subject of many debates before he was confirmed. And he promised Congress in no uncertain terms that the quote that I used, or the phrase that I used for my article in the Washington Examiner, is, if you like your vaccine, you can keep your vaccine. So basically, he presented himself as sort of a vaccine skeptic who was not going to remove people's access from that. But by firing the entire CDC's board in terms of who recommends what vaccines, that impacts who qualifies and what vaccines qualify for healthcare coverage for millions of Americans. And I have to imagine that there are many Americans out there who are trying to avoid getting dragged into this politically, but who will remember on Election Day if these promises have just gone up in smoke. These vaccines, if they're starting to get paid out of pocket because insurers can now deny the claims, it can be quite expensive for a family.
All right, Colin Moran from Young Voices, where do the fine people find your work online?
Sure. So I am on X at Kyle P. Moran, and you can check my portfolio out at Young Voices website.
Thank you very much, Kyle Moran. The latest viral video trend that's going around social media and TikTok or whatever is gigantically pregnant ladies taking handfuls of Tylenol just to spite Orange Man Bad.
"28 weeks pregnant. You know what I'm going to take? Some Tylenol, acetaminophen. It's going to work like a charm, and my baby won't have autism."
Oh my God, I hope not. I hope your baby doesn't have autism, but that's such a weird risk to take. I mean, do you even have a headache? What could possibly be wrong with you that you need 13 Tylenol right now? You're just willing to for internet clout, to sacrifice the well-being of your child just to show that you're more of a true believer than the people around you, I guess? Like, I don't even know what the goal is here. Get rid of a headache? That's wild. The intersection of politics and medicine is a dangerous road that we're going down. Gary in Bedford, you're on WBAP. Gary, you still with me?
I've got a Gary Bob over in Newark. I'm not sure if I'm the right one or not.
Well, it's definitely you, Gary in Newark.
That's me. Hey, I just want to make two comments. One of them about the lady that called if they could sue Tylenol for the damage.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure after listening to her comment that her mother took a whole lot of Tylenol.
Dude, that is so going to be in my regular repertoire of jokes from here on out. Like, I don't know, maybe they had too much Tylenol when they were a kid. But
but now in Tarrant County, they hold these mothers accountable for these crackhead babies when they're born with crack addictions and cocaine addictions. They hold the mothers accountable. I hope they can keep all of these videos that they're making on file in case that their babies do have that they can put them in jail and charge them for child endangerment.
Oh, dude, look. I really hope none of those kids get autism, man. I really hope none of those kids are harmed whatsoever. But man,
if they are,
what?
I hope that they're held accountable.
Look, think about these ladies right now. They're pretty contemptible in their actions and their disregard for the well-being of their baby based on politics. We all agree with that, but they're young. What happens if they're like 40, 45, 50, and they make that natural evolution and they convert to being right-wingers, and then for like the rest of their life, they know they were wrong and they did something stupid, and they have to see their baby every day grow up and with some sort of malady that they thrust upon it. I mean, think about the guilt these ladies are going to feel if they're wrong.
Yes, I work with a lady that has twins. One is autistic and one is not. And I ask her every day about this. I've been listening to it for a week. And she said she did take Tylenol, but not in excess, But they also say that stress could cause it a whole lot. And she's definitely stressed all the time. So,
All right.
I'm sure there's a whole lot of stuff involved in it, but I hope none of these children actually come out with anything. I would wish nothing bad on the children. But in the fact that they do, I hope the mothers are held accountable. And that's all I had to say.
I know. And that's the scary part about this. My heart bleeds for not just the babies, the moms too. Like, if you mess that kid up, you don't understand the type of pain you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. And for those of you who haven't heard the other soundbite Gary was referencing, there's a blue-haired spheroid on TikTok saying, well, why didn't Tylenol just sue Trump if he's lying? Exactly, lady.
So, can whoever owns Tylenol, what is it, Procter & Gamble? I don't know. Whoever owns Tylenol, can they not hold the Trump administration liable for these spurious, untruthful claims about their product causing autism? Like, aren't we not allowed to make claims like that with zero proof, and that will invariably lead to Tylenol making less money, like people not buying their product anymore? Now, I'm going to keep buying it. In fact, I'm going to stock up, because I'll be damned if it comes down to it and I can't get my hands on some acetaminophen.
Yeah, actually, they can sue him if he's lying. And the fact that they're not suing him and he's comfortable saying this and there's no legal blowback kind of lets you know Tylenol co-signs what he's saying. Heather in Denton, you're on WBAP. If you want to be after Heather, 800-288-9227. What do you got to say, Heather?
It's just a scary time for our country when people are politicizing over medical advice. That's the bottom line. It's not right. It's not left. The fact that we're not even listening to health professionals based on who's in the presidency is out of this world. It's insane.
Well, the problem I see, and this is the libertarian in me speaking, is the Democrats are way off their rocker. They want socialized medicine, and that's just terrible. The Republicans want some sort of Margaret socialism hybrid where they like the safety nets. They like Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, and all the other government interventions into it. They like the FDA. They like the CDC. They like all of the regulations and control, just not as much as the Democrats. My preference, and this isn't so much me as a libertarian, but an Austrian economist, is we shouldn't have a Health and Human Services. We shouldn't have a CDC. We shouldn't have an FDA. There should be no government intervention into these very important industries. You know, how you feed yourself, how you're going to get yourself medical care. These are issues of life and death. And it is because it is so important, I think we've got to get the experiment that we've tried with government intervention into the medical world has been a complete abysmal failure. The longer and deeper they go, the harder it is to get care, the more expensive it is, the lower quality is, the more likely it's going to bankrupt you. You know, I have Miss Parker's grandparents are immigrants here, and they came to America, cranked out 8 children. Never had health insurance. And I say, well, how would you pay for it? Well, if someone broke their leg, we'd go to the doctor, they'd give us a bill. And, for 1968, the $200 bill was huge. So maybe the doctor let them break them up into payments or whatever, but they just paid cash for the whole thing.
Yeah. And right. I agree. That's where we need to get back to basics. And I agree with Kennedy coming in and firing everybody, because there's so many corrupt people that are getting kickbacks from pharmaceuticals, from doctors to clinics. Like, as far as the COVID, even people dying and getting paid for that.
Well, it's such a cognitive dissonance. Like they say the opposite things. Like the medical system is so terrible that we understand why Luigi Mangione would assassinate a healthcare CEO in the streets of Manhattan. But on the other hand, it would be terrible if you got rid of all the people who have made the system that is so bad that they excuse the assassination of a healthcare CEO on the streets of Manhattan. I don't know how they reconcile that in their head, Heather. Good points all around. Women who are visibly pregnant taking giant handfuls of Tylenol just to spite Donald Trump. And look, if you think everything he does and says is wrong, that's cool. But it also requires you to just not know the world around you and for you to only be into this conversation for like 5 minutes here. Because there is plenty of evidence. I don't know if it's true. I don't know my final answer on this, if this is, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But you can't say that it's unsubstantiated. There's no proof. No one's ever thought of anything like this before. Here is... Let's get out of America. This is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. 5 years ago, talking about a study between Tylenol and pregnancy.
And medical health experts has released an important statement on pregnancy and pain medication. It's part of a study in the British scientific journal Nature. And here's what it does. It cautions pregnant women about using acetaminophen. And that is the active ingredient in Tylenol and many other medications. All right, we don't have to listen to the whole damn thing, but it's not like this is just coming out of nowhere and Trump is making stuff up and who's an idiot, orange man bad. I'm going to do opposite of whatever he says because I hate him. You're going to risk your child's health for that. That's crazy. I don't have a better word for it. That is not rational. That's not logical. That is emotional. That is spiteful. That's hateful. But it is insane. Stephanie in Flower Mound, you're on WBAP.
Hi. I just wanted to kind of give my opinion. I have almost 5-year-old twins and boy, girl. And I had a really bad pelvic disorder when I was pregnant where I couldn't even barely walk. And the only thing I took was Tylenol. Not in excess, but probably more than just for a regular headache. And my son was diagnosed with autism at 2. And 3 years ago, I read a journal article when I was looking through and he was diagnosed. And yeah, this isn't a new thing. There has been studies saying that it could contribute. And I definitely have always thought it contributed to my son's autism.
So how does it make you feel to see pregnant ladies taking handfuls of Tylenol and just pounding them on TikTok?
If you have ever had to be and take care of an autistic child, you would never, ever do it. I mean, I love my boy. He's amazing and brilliant, but autism is a struggle as a parent and nothing would ever. I mean, I feel guilty that I took it because I didn't know, but it's horrible. It's horrible. You don't know what it's like to take care of an autistic child. It's a lifetime.
Well, what do you think is the cause? Do you think it could have been the Tylenol, or was it the vaccines, or was it a combination of other toxins and all rolled up into one? What's your theory, Stephanie?
I don't have my children vaccinated, so I don't believe it was the vaccines. I don't have them because I'm very cautious of vaccines. It's not that I don't believe in them, but I was very cautious of the research I did. So to me, the only thing I truly took when I was pregnant was the Tylenol. So I don't think it's maybe 100%, but do I think it can be a contributing factor? Absolutely, if you have to take it in excess for a certain reason.
Well,
so maybe, I don't know. It's hard.
It sounds tough.
I definitely would not down it to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad you got that out there. Thanks for calling in, Stephanie.
All right. Thank you.
Listen to Stephanie, people. Ken in Arlington, you're on WBAP.
Hey, is there a test to determine if the baby has autism before it's born?
I don't think so.
Because, I mean, if this is the case, the women that are pregnant doing this, and if they say, okay, well, I'm going to test to see if my baby has autism now, are they just going to go ahead and abort it because of their stupid mistake?
Well, now that's an interesting thought. If you are indifferent to abortion, then this isn't really such a tragedy. If you take a handful of Tylenol and hurt your baby, it's like, oh, well, just abort him anyway. Right. We'll start over. And is it really less of a tragedy for them? Or do they know in the back of their head that, accidentally killing your fetal development's wrong?
Well, no, because they took the Tylenol because they were told not to do it because of Orange Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like the way you think, Ken. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Jack in Plano, you're on WBAP.
Hey, how's it going, James? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for calling.
Hey, I had, I was listening to your call earlier. You were talking about the ladies who, they're down in all the Tylenol. And, as unfortunate as that is, I looked at Tylenol's own website, or not website, but their Twitter account. And you can just search pregnancy or pregnant women in their handle. They've been telling people not to do that when they're pregnant since 2017. So, the president wasn't saying anything new other than if you listen to the entire speech that he gave, he said, hey, we're not going to have any more mercury in the vaccines, no more aluminum in the vaccines, and a list of other things that I think parents and people everywhere are like, why is that in there? that Big Pharma would kind of sidestep those questions in the past. So anyway, I just wanted to know see if you were aware of that.
Yeah, and the most effective ones that I've seen is if you're on Twitter, X, or some social media where the people are putting headlines side by side from the exact same publication. So they'll take like a Reuters article from 2007 that questions the link between acetaminophen and autism, and then what they just published yesterday in order to make Donald Trump and RFK look bad. There's no credible evidence or whatever's in the headline. And those ones that are back and forth, whether it's in a scientific journal or whether it's on CNN or whether it's in Reuters or AP, or there's been so many people busted for this that,
right.
God, ladies, before you do like the handful of Tylenol challenge, just do a couple Google searches, or you can even stay on Twitter and just type in Tylenol and do some of the posts that pop up. Look, it's just some of the basic research. What a weird, crazy risk you're taking just to spite a guy you've been trained to hate. See, this isn't just about shootings anymore. This idea that Trump's literally Hitler and you're fighting against fascists and Nazis, it's having medical consequences. Teresa in Waco, you're on WBAP.
Hi, James. How are you?
I am well. What do you think, Teresa?
So I just had this epiphany. I thought, well, they're taking handfuls of Tylenol, and if it really does cause autism, we're never going to know because they've all had the jab plus probably 6 boosters.
Yeah, we don't know which variable to isolate on them because, they've lived such a questionable lifestyle. All right, well.
So that was my thought, was we'll never know because they've probably done all of the other.
Oh, hell, we'll never know because they'll hide it. They're not going to tell you the truth. They're not going to go back.
They'll never admit to anything anyway.
So, and that was one of the most compelling parts about the Rush Limbaugh show is, he would call them the drive-by media, and he would circle back in sort of almost like a Paul Harvey fashion and tell you the rest of the story. And I used to love that because I feel like doing that on the show all the time. Because look, 4 months ago, you were told that we were about to go to war with Iran and your sons and daughters are going to be drafted and it's going to be World War III. What's happened since then? An absolute ceasefire. But does it get the same amount of headlines? Absolutely not. You were told 6 months ago the stock market was crashing. You were told 9 months ago that we were headed for a recession. Here we are. You were told a little over a year ago Biden was sharp as a tack.
That's right.
Just review all this and we'll never get it. We'll never get it. But maybe the alternative media or someone like a Dallas Express will report on all these freaks that come out and, God, I hope this doesn't happen in 10 months or so. This is going to be so terrible if it does. Steve, Red Oak, you're on WBAP. Hey, Steve.
Hey, listening on my drive home, and we don't have to wait until a child is born and has problems to deal with this. I'm a grandfather of 3 foster kids that were removed from custody because parents, specifically mom, did things, took substances that were dangerous to the kid. I think this is child endangerment, pure and simple. And these people have gone on video and recorded what they did to endanger their child. I think charges ought to be filed. I think potentially custody ought to be removed. And I don't think you'd have to do it more than once or twice before we could stop this stupidity.
I see where you're coming at. I just don't really like taking children away from the parents, even in the most extreme of circumstances like this. I think the best punishment they can have is you have an autistic kid and you have to take care of it for the rest of their life. How about that? I don't know. I don't know if there is a good answer for this.
Don't remove the child, but there's a process that can go through where people get on probation, people are monitored, where you don't get to endanger your kid and walk away like you didn't do anything.
Okay, that wins me over. Thank you, Steve. You're very convincing. Appreciate that. Look, and someone sent me a link here. I don't know if this is true. I saw this floating around before the show. I was kind of iffy on playing it, but a couple people will send it to me. This is one of the other viral videos going around. This is a lady in scrubs looking like she's in some sort of hospital waiting room and saying what you think.
4 o'clock in the morning from a husband whose wife is now dying of liver failure on a ventilator in an ICU because she was trying to prove that Tylenol doesn't cause autism because of what Trump said on the news. Mind you, that's a Harvard study. Now, whether or not you believe the Harvard study or not is not the issue here. The issue is that she's somewhere between 23 to 25 weeks and she overdosed on Tylenol and she's going to die.
I hope that's not true. I hope that's a fake video. There's just been too much that's just kicked you in the heart this week, isn't there? Really, in the last 2 weeks. We've been through a lot. All right, that's all I can do on today's show. I'm out of time. I wish I had more time. We've got a lot of great calls lined up, but we will continue tomorrow. In the meantime, in the next 21 hours, if you need some James Show action, find the podcast, WBAP.com, WBAP app. Find us on social media. Find WBAP and the James Show, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We're all over everywhere. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.